Today, we're gonna look at this book. It's called The Forest of Wool and Steel by Natsu Miyashita. Here's my 10-second summary. This book is about a boy who falls in love with piano tuning, and we follow him on this journey on how he learns about piano tuning and how he impacts people around him with it and through it. I actually bought this years ago. I walked into a bookshop and I saw it just on the table. I'm pretty sure I picked it up because of these piano keys at the bottom, and I really love pianos. I'm really sad to admit today, now and forever, that I am a reader who picks up books based on the book cover. Oh dear. But this time round, I was lucky because it's a very sweet book. But before we get to more details around why I thought this was a really sweet book, I usually refer to Goodreads for reviews and ratings. And so let's do that now as well. We'll look at what other readers have said on Goodreads about this book. Review number 1 is by someone called Vishy, who gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. Here's what they said. The Forest of Wool and Steel is a beautiful love letter to pianos, piano tuning, and music. I loved it. Here's review number 2. Enos gave this book 2 out of 5 stars. Here's what they said. I just didn't choose a book that suited me. I was very intrigued by the synopsis. Too bad that the whole thing is really slow until the nervous breakdown. In fact, I'm not ashamed to say, the main character, I would have gladly beat him up heavily. Oh my days. That's a little bit dramatic, but okay. I did not feel the same way. And this third review, Book Lunatic, who gave the book 3 out of 5 stars. The review is actually in German, so I'll just read it out. Ein sehr ruhiges, poetisches, typisch japanisches Buch. She said, a very calm, poetic, and very typical Japanese book. 100% agree. Very typical Japanese book, at least in terms of the ones I've read so far. So overall, Goodreads has given this book 3.7 out of 5 stars. Here's what I would give the book. Let's get to my review. The Forest of Wool and Steel, I would give 5 out of 5 stars. I thought, even though I bought it based on the book cover, the contents were just as good as my thoughts on the book cover. It was outstanding. At every single point in the book, when there was a certain milestone or something that happened to the main character, I kept wondering, what is there that this book is kind of telling me? And there were so many different ideas of themes that it could have spoken to me about. I think a lot of people say this book is about piano tuning, and on the outside it definitely is in some ways. I've even said that in my 10-second summary. But the reality, I think, really is that this book is so much more about taking something fairly small and niche. I mean, piano tuning is so niche. I do actually know a piano tuner, which I never would have thought I'd ever be in my life. But it's such a niche thing, and yet in this book you can see how someone picked up something so small and so niche and really pulled all the beauty out of it that there is. And I think that's something wonderful. We're definitely not good at that today. We're so good at picking up the big and the flashy and the popular, and ultimately really how do we pull the beauty out of everyday niche small tiny things, and I think that's what really comes through in this book. There is a little kind of side plot where the main character really helps this piano player kind of excel in what they do. And I thought the whole book as well was kind of looking at how the main character not just drew the beauty out of, what piano tuning is, but actually how he used piano tuning to draw beauty out of someone else's art. The Forest of Wool and Steel, something that was mentioned in here as well, was how the forest, as in the piano as an instrument, of how beautiful it is, and how everything inside of it, the rumble jumble of wool and steel inside the piano, how that is almost a feeling of a forest. So I would give it 5 out of 5 stars. If you're still wondering if you'd like this or not, there is another book that quite a lot of people have been raving about. Strange Weather in Tokyo by Hiromi Kawakami. If you really, really loved this, then I'm pretty sure you will like The Forest of Wool and Steel. It has a really similar pace. It is very kind of centered around one main character only, following them specifically on a journey. And I think that similar almost style of following a main character and the sweetness around that, you'll probably like this. So if you like this, you'll definitely like The Forest of Wool and Steel. The Forest of Wool and Steel actually won an award in Japan. I don't know what the award is called, apologies. But it means that it was actually recognized and then put forward to create a movie. So in 2018, they actually published a movie and made this into a film. I have watched it in Japanese, didn't understand a thing, but that's okay, I'll get there. If you ask me, should I read the book or watch the movie, and which one should I read first, I would definitely say read the book and maybe skip the movie. I think there's a lot of imagery in this book that is really beautiful. For example, film. There are quite a few moments where the main character listens to the sound of a piano and imagines this forest being created inside and around him and the feelings he gets, and all of that allows for incredible imagery in your own imagination of what that would look like. And I just feel like the film doesn't quite do that justice of that imagery, that how a forest and how the piano could come alive. So I definitely recommend to read the book and maybe watch the film for language learning purposes or just entertainment in general. Here's what I think the book teaches me about Japanese society. There are two things. Number one, I think there is a preconception of Japanese society being quite judgmental and there being a lot of scrutiny. And I actually do think that this comes across in the book as well. There are often moments where the main character is quite concerned about how he comes across and how he's being judged by other people based on where he's from and the work that he does. And I just feel that really reinforces this feeling or preconception about Japanese society. Point number two, I've mentioned before a little bit about thinking about taking something small and niche and making that beautiful, and I think that really comes across in the book 100%, but I also think that that's a super representation of Japanese culture, which is taking something super small, no matter how small or maybe even mundane if you want to say, or big it is, like there's a want to kind of take that step forward and make it that little bit better and just kind of keep constantly renewing it and breathing new life into it, and I think that is something very Japanese. My final thought on this book is I loved it. I read the last few pages and had a huge smile on my face. So would highly recommend it. So this is review number 1. Stick around for another review of Japanese literature. Have a lovely day.